In this video, I'll provide an overview of the ArrayList class. Arrays aren't the only way to store lists of related data. You can use ArrayList, which is one of several list management classes. ArrayList has a set of useful methods for managing its elements, for example, add, get, remove, index of, and many others. ArrayList can store only object types, not primitive types like int, double, boolean, char, and so on. If you need to store a list of primitives, use an array or store the primitive values in their corresponding object type. You can see some examples here. There's an array list of shirt objects using shirts.add, an array list of string objects using names.remove, and an array list of ages. Note that the first ages example is illegal because remember you can't use primitives, so you'd use the object new integer as indicated in the second example. For lists that are very dynamic, the ArrayList offers significant benefits. ArrayList objects dynamically allocate space as needed. This can free you from having to write code to keep track of the index of the last piece of data added, keep track of how full the array is, and determine whether it needs to be resized, and increase the size of the array by creating a new one and copying the elements from the current one into it. Likewise, array lists shrink as you remove elements, so they're very efficient in terms of storage. Keep in mind that you can specify an initial capacity when you declare an array list, but it's not necessary. When you declare an array list, you have the option of specifying the object type that will be stored in it using the left and right angled brackets. This technique is called generics, meaning that when accessing an element, the compiler already knows what type it is. Many of the classes included in the collections framework support the use of generics. And you may call methods on either the array list or its individual elements. In the first example, we can assume that all 50 US states have already been added to the list, and we use the .size method to get the size of the list. The second example shows how to get the length on a specific element in the array list. You have to import java.util.ArrayList to use an array list, and an array list may contain any object type, including a type that you have created by writing a class. If you forget to import java.util.ArrayList, NetBeans will complain, but it'll also suggest that you add the import statement, as indicated by the highlighted code in this example. Note that the mylist array list will contain shirt objects in this example. You can declare that an array list contains any type of object, as demonstrated in the last line of code. To declare an array list, we use the left and right angled brackets to indicate the object type. In this example, the declaration of the names array list occurs on line 1 and instantiation occurs on line 2. There are a number of methods that can be used to add data to an array list. This example uses the add method, demonstrated on lines 4 to 8, to add several string objects to the list. On line 8, we use an overloaded add method that inserts an element at a specific location, in this case index location 2. There are also many methods available for manipulating the data. The example shows just one method, but it's very powerful. Remove 0 on line 10 removes the first element, which you can see on line 4 is Jamie. Remove names.size -1 removes the last element, which would be Jose. Remove Gustav removes an element that matches a specific value. To display the contents of the array list, line 10 passes the remaining contents of the array list to system.out.println.